Hi, it's Heather from Spiritual Signage. Yesterday I told the story about when we adopted our yellow lab, Luna. Today's story is about how we lost one dog and adopted another and the deep spiritual reasons why. Lucy was a 3-year-old lab mix that we had for a year and a half. And she was very skittish of people and loud noises, and she had come quite a ways in the year and a half that we had her. She started warming up to people and really coming along. One night we were at the movies, and while we were gone, she ate part of a Berber carpet. The carpet ended up being like a ball of string in her stomach. We had to take her to the emergency vet, of course, and she was there for 2 nights. In the middle of the second night, they called and said, we can do this surgery, but she's starting to get sepsis, and we can't confirm at all that she's going to make it through the night. So I said, okay, call me after the surgery and we will come down. So we went to bed. Of course, I couldn't sleep. And this overwhelming feeling of absolute certainty that Lucy was going to live came over me. I have never felt anything like this in my life. I was 1000% certain that that dog was going to live. And I had every ounce of belief in me. So I was devastated when they called us an hour later, if even that, to say that the surgery was done, but she was not doing well. We got up at 3 in the morning and drove back to the emergency vet and ended up having to put her down. That was the most, I hate to keep using the word devastating, but it wrecked me, because everything I believed about faith went out the window. I was so certain earlier in the morning that she was going to make it. And I didn't know how or what to do with that loss and that complete loss of faith. So we went home, and as the weeks went by, I didn't want to adopt another dog. Now, I am one that I do not wait too long to adopt another dog, because my belief is there are so many wonderful dogs out there that need good homes. And my previous dogs, I know, would want me to bring in another dog, that I am not minimizing my love for them at all by bringing in another dog. In fact, I'm spreading it on to the next one that needs a home and a good life. But I was not ready after this one, because Lucy was only 3 years old. So I decided I was going to photograph dogs for a lab rescue, a local lab rescue. So the very first dog that I got to photograph, I met her and her foster mom at a state park in Virginia. And this dog got out of the car, and I immediately fell in love with her. Her name was Lexi, and I photographed her, and she posed and trotted along the trail and stayed with us even though she was off leash, and she came when called, and she was just beautiful dog, happy, easy, and everything. So I was like, boy, I really hope this girl gets adopted. So Lexi's backstory is that she was rescued by the Richmond Lab Rescue in Richmond, Virginia, and off of a farm where the family was moving the next day, and they were just planning on abandoning her and leaving her at the farm. So she had a tumor on her belly the size of probably 2 footballs. This is before I met her. The lab rescue brought her to the vet. They were able to remove the tumor, but they couldn't guarantee how long she would live after that. she was noted as a hospice dog. And I'm photographing her going, my gosh. And by the time I photographed her, it was about 2 months after her surgery. Like, my gosh, you would never know that this dog had just been through what she'd been through. So Stephen and I began looking for another dog to bring home for his dog, Socks, who was still with us. And we drove around the state looking at different rescues and different dogs, and none of them seemed to be the right fit. So on the way home one day, I said, you know, I photographed this dog, Lexi, and he said, the one with that had the tumor on the belly? And I said, yes. And I said, she's a really good girl. She's really sweet. And he was so worried, understandably so, about taking in another dog that only had a couple, you know, potentially a couple months, who knows, a couple years. The vet could not say how long she would live if the cancer would come back, because the tumor was cancerous. And I said, all of that faith that I put into Lucy living, I want to put into Lexi living. I was able to conjure up all that faith that I had for Lucy and put it into Lexi. And Stephen agreed. He said, okay, we'll get her. So 3 days before St. Patrick's Day in 2019, I brought Lexi home. And she didn't die until August of 2021. So we had her for 2.5 years. And she traveled up and down the East Coast with us. We were full-time in our RV for a year. She got to go literally from Florida all the way up to the northernmost part of Maine, Lebec, Maine, actually. We lived in Camden, Maine for the summer of 2020. We went hiking with her. I mean, this was an 8, 9, 10-year-old dog who lived an amazing life. And all of that faith that I had for Lucy to live went into Lexi's life. And she was such a blessing to us. So when she finally eventually passed away in August of 2021 from a brain tumor, it had remanifested in her brain. And we ended up adopting Luna, which that whole story is in my video from yesterday. Well, I told you in that story how Lexi had always been the mama bear to Kizzy, and how she gave a huge nod of approval for us adopting Luna as Kizzy's new best friend in the sign of 2 different license plates, Moon Mom and Lab Nerd. If you go back and watch the video, you'll get to see. So filming that video yesterday morning, I was like, you know, this is such a great story. I love it, and I'll get it up there. After that, I went to the grocery store. I left and had to go get some groceries. On the way to the store, I end up at a red light behind the license plate, Paw, P-A-W, Paw, P-A-W, number 5. Now, in the South, Paw is grandfather to a lot of people. I was born and raised in New England. I'm a dog lover. To me, Paw is Paw, and it means dogs. Well, to see Paw number 5, I immediately did the math in my head, or counted the dogs in my head. Hummel, Julie, Stefan, Lucy, Lexi. Lexi was the 5th dog in my adult life that I adopted. As if the license plates in yesterday's video weren't enough confirmation, seeing Paw number 5 yesterday on my way to the grocery store, slam dunk, Lexi was with me. God bless her. That dog, she'll always be in my heart. So I hope this story encourages you to keep an eye out for your own signs. Mine happened to come in the form of license plates because I've driven cross country 10 times I lived in Charlottesville, Virginia, where there happened to be a lot of personalized plates, which doesn't mean you're always going to see the right one that you're meant to see, mind you. I used to ride my bike 5,000 miles a year when I lived in Charlottesville, so I always had the opportunity to see license plates. It was the easiest portal or mechanism for my guides to reach out to me. For other people, it might be a type of bird. It might be finding dimes and pennies, like Stephen. He finds pennies from his mom and dimes from his dad. So once you open yourself up to it, you will begin to see more and more and more of those signs. It had been a while since I've seen a license plate sign, actually. So for me to see Paw Paw 5 yesterday, that was pretty incredible. Anyway, I hope you all have a great day and that you enjoyed the story. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it, and it's free. Have a good day.